Start the stream. Lauren, you are live. You are live.
Very good morning, everybody. We are finally live underwater, bringing the first live dive of today to you. So it's a little bit later than we hoped. We did have some technical issues, but here we are at 15 meters depth, ready to give you a live dive. So some quick introductions. I'm Lauren from Scotland. We have the handsome Hungarian Emil on camera, and we have Patrick from Australia on the surface. And together as a team, we're going to bring this live dive to you. So earlier, we did see a turtle, and we were swimming with it, so I am going to try and find that turtle for you. So that means we're just going to swim over the reef, and throughout the dive, we're going to get progressively shallower. So we're here to answer your questions, so please send them in to the diveLIVE chat streams on either Facebook or YouTube. And if you're using Twitter, make sure you use that hashtag diveLIVE. So I'll let Pat say hello, and for now, me and Emil are going to swim over the reef.
Yeah, hello and a warm welcome to everyone, especially all our new viewers joining us on Paddy's YouTube page. Now, we do apologise, we don't have the capacity to monitor both of the YouTube streams at the moment. So if you do have a question, you can use the diveLIVE YouTube page rather than the Paddy one. And we also have the diveLIVE Facebook page and Twitter. Make sure you use that hashtag diveLIVE. So it's looking really nice down there today, Lauren. The visibility looks great from what I can see.
It's beautiful. There's a lot of plankton in the water, and as we were swimming on the surface, there's a lot of ctenophores. They're about this size, and they look like jellyfish. They're very closely related to jellyfish, but they're not. They don't sting. They're called ctenophores, and they are everywhere. So I imagine that'll be a great food source for some fish. So we're hoping for some really fishy action today. And we are swimming along with the reef on my left and the sandy patch on my right. You never know what you're going to see on the sandy patch. And just to give you an update, it is 29 degrees Celsius here, which is about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. So it's nice and warm, great viz, the perfect conditions for a dive.
Yeah, I'm quite jealous I'm not down there at the moment. It's looking great. So it looks like we've got a queen angelfish right ahead of us.
Yeah, we do. In fact, we have two queen angelfish. The other one's just slightly behind, catching up. And these ones are pretty big. But the second one's a lot smaller, actually. So angelfish is probably one of the most common groupings of fish that we do sight here on the reef, and the queen is one of my particular favourites. I'm sure I don't need to tell you why. Look at those elaborate colours and that gorgeous little crown they have on their forehead, if you like, which makes them look like royalty and gives them the name the Queen. Now, angelfish are very often found in pairs. There's a dramatic size difference between these two, but they could be a mated pair. Angelfish do show signs of monogamy. They do tend to stick with a partner for life. I loosely use that word. And they travel around in pairs to feed and to breed. Now, angelfish are really important on the coral reefs. Not only are they beautiful to look at, but they are omnivores, but 90% of these guys' diets come from sponges. So, as well as the hawksbill turtle, which I'm also hoping to show you today, these guys eat a lot of sponges, which is really important to keep the sponge growth in check on the reef. So I think Emil's chasing after these. Are you able to see the two of them?
Yeah, we're getting great shots of both of these here. Very vibrantly coloured. It's looking great.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they are in pairs, that we can assume that one may be a male and one may be a female. Now, angelfish don't produce sexual dimorphism, which means that the two sexes you can't distinguish between. Oh, but it looks like we got another queen here, a queen triggerfish.
Oh, I think I saw that earlier. Yes, can you believe it? Queen triggerfish and queen angelfish. Now, these are completely different groupings, not closely related at all. And the triggerfish is quite distinctive just from that body shape. If you take a good look at it, it's quite flat. And it's using its top dorsal and bottom anal fin to propel itself through the water. It barely moves that tail, or caudal fin, if you like to call it. It uses that more as a rudder. So this is a really different type of queen. Have we still got a visual on it? Or has it swam away?
I know, it made a bit of a run for it at the end, but we did get a good view of it. So a very royal start to today's dive.
Oh, we do have what looks like horse-eyed jacks. I could be wrong. We're going to get a little bit closer. Really, really shallow on top of the reef. How unusual. Are you able to see them at all?
Yes, we are getting a bit closer to them now.
They're definitely jacks.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit too far behind to say what species they are.
I'm pretty sure they are horse-eyed jacks, although we'll need to get a little bit closer. But I don't actually think these guys are. Or, no, I think they are.
Yeah, from where I'm looking, they look like they're horse-eyed jacks. There's about 10 of them, and they're all just schooling at about 10 meters here. I've actually never seen them in this location before. We do normally find a large school of them nearby at the Devil's Grotto, but I'm not quite there. So, wow, what a find!
Yeah, what a great sighting. So it's been a very fishy start to the dive as well.
Yes, I did feel like it was going to be a fishy dive today.
Yeah, you called it.
Oh, nice. So these are also called big-eyed jacks, but here in the Caribbean we call them horse eyes. And you can tell they're a jack straight away by that streamlined body shape. It's built for speed and that incredibly sharp forked tail, which is normally bright yellow. Now these guys are famous for schooling. They're normally always hanging around in a big school, and they tend to just go around in circles. Now the school is normally a lot bigger than this, so it's quite unusual to see just 10 of them hanging around above the reef. Well, that was a great fight. I probably used up most of my air there. No, I'm only joking. So we are going to continue our travels after all those fish. Hopefully answer some of your questions. And we do have a white spotted filefish here. One of my faves.
Oh, great. So just like the queen triggerfish, we have another very odd-shaped swimmer here that does use that undulating motion of its dorsal and anal fins there.
Yes, and the filefish are very closely related to the trigger. So we did show you a queen trigger, and now this one is the white spotted filefish. And you may wonder why it's called white spotted. Well, in actual fact, it hasn't got them on display right now, but these guys can turn on their white spots, and you will visibly be able to see them. Now this one is not fully grown, but they can go very large, up to about 80 to 90 centimeters, which is just under 3 feet. And they are related to the triggerfish, so there must be some things quite similar. And they do also have a trigger-like spine on top of their head. So there's quite a sharp spine there. It's longer and thinner than the triggerfish, and they are able to make this go erect on the top of their head, and they normally do this when they're cleaning. It might do it now, and when they're trying to wedge themselves in sort of the cracks and crevices of the reef. The triggerfish also has a trigger, which is where the name comes from, so it's designed a little bit differently, but they are very, very closely related.
Yes, and that entire grouping of fish that Lauren was just talking about are called leather jackets, and that is because they have a very rough, leathery skin to them that actually was once used as sandpaper when it was dried out.
Yeah, long ago, the skin of a filefish, each little scale has a small spine on it. We can't really see the spine, but it's there. So if you were to take the fish and dry it out in the sun, the old fishermen back in the day used to use the skin as a sort of sanding paper for their fishing boats. And that's actually where the name filefish comes from. So we've travelled quite a distance with those horse eyes. So we're just going to go around this area here and see what else we can see. The fish are very active today. There's a lot of food in the water, so fingers crossed we get some good fish action.
Yeah, hopefully. And no Betty. So Betty wanted to know whether that fish, the last fish, the filefish we saw, was the one that makes a nest out of rubble of coral. That's a tilefish with a T. So that was a filefish with an F that we just saw. And now, Lauren, we have a question from Norbert. She wants to know what is the what's the visibility like here in the Caymans compared to other places that you have dived at?
I'm not sure that's a possible question to answer. A lot of places have seasons, so there's been a seasonal shift here as well. I particularly lived in the Maldives for 6 years, and they have 2 distinct monsoonal seasons where the visibility is dramatically reduced. So the visibility a month ago here was incredible, and now there seems to be a lot of plankton in the water, a lot of jellies, which reduces the visibility. It can also be affected by, these guys are massive. Oh wow.
Oh,
we
wow.
have one that's definitely a grouper. It's really, really big.
Yeah, so can you give us a size estimate? So it looks like we've got a dog snapper there on the right, and on the left, a grouper.
Okay. Oh, turtle!
Oh, yes.
I knew I would find you. I love... Oh, I wonder if it's the same one. I will be able to tell you. So, spotted by my man Emil, we have a hawksbill turtle up ahead, and that is Eretmocheles imbricata. So it's probably the most common species of turtle we do actually get here, and I'm just going to have a look on its shell and tell you if it's the same one. So earlier, when we did try to go live, we did see one of our local residents double patch. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I knew that in a minute, but I do think this one might be different.
Yeah, so I do have the identification guide up, or not guide, but our identification slides here.
Well, while you're having a little look, Emil's going to get you right close to the face. I'll explain exactly what we mean by this. So we're actually able to identify each and every individual turtle by using the scales on a turtle's face. So those unique scales that we also call scutes will be unique to each individual. So Pat on the surface is going to have a little look at our very small turtle identification database, and he's going to be able to tell you exactly who this is. Go for it, Pat.
So this one right here is Mowgli.
Oh, we're seeing Mowgli quite a lot these days. So it was double patch that I saw earlier. So that means there is 2 hawksbills hanging out around this area. Now Mowgli is an adult female. Her shell, which we call carapace, is in fact longer than 60 centimeters, and that is going to be classified her as an adult. So I'm not talking about the total length of her body, I'm talking about the length of her shell. It's definitely longer than 60. She's quite a big female, and the fact that she has no tail in between her black flippers tells us that it is a female and not a male. So hi there, Mowgli. You might get a look at her little stumpy tail now. Females do have a tail, but it's very small and stumpy, and it rarely extends past the shell. Oh, she's a cutie.
And being a female hawksbill turtle, she will actually go to land to lay her eggs. So they will generally walk up the beach and lay their eggs there. So they are marine reptiles, but they still give birth on land.
Yeah, so as Pat mentioned, they're reptiles, so Mowgli here will have to go to the surface regularly to breathe air. So she doesn't have gills, she has lungs, and hawksbills in particular normally tend to go for air about every 20 minutes on average. But obviously if they're threatened, or they're scared, or they need to hide, they can stay down much longer. And data shows that they can stay under between 4 to 7 hours if they have enough oxygen. So hopefully Mowgli is going to find a juicy sponge and start eating that. Hawksbill turtles, love their sponges. That is their main food source, and they normally just cruise the reefs during the day looking for that right sponge to eat. And their beaks, which hopefully a male can give you a good view of, are very sharp and pointy. Has a real overbite, and this is designed for getting stuck right into the sponges. Oh, what a great find.
Yeah, we always love to see a turtle, and yes, Sophie, I think Mowgli is turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
What was that, Pat?
Oh, don't worry, I was just being silly. So we can see that it's using its front flippers there to generate lift and control its, well, not control itself, sorry, to move itself. And then its rear flippers are just staying still, so they will only move them slightly to act as a rudder so they can turn, whereas the front flippers are the ones that actually generates the movement. They don't have swim bladders, so they can't actually control their buoyancy like fish do.
Yeah, they use their lungs to do that. So turtles in general, with this big, heavy, cumbersome looking shell, are negatively buoyant, so they would naturally just sink. And if you ever have tried to lift an adult turtle, it's a very difficult thing to do. I have rescued many, and they are extremely heavy. So in order to control their buoyancy, they do fill their lungs with air, and this is how they're able to do so. But I did read really recently that new evidence has came to light to show that turtles can show symptoms of the bend. So this is decompression sickness. So if they are sort of lifted out of the water too fast, possibly from fishing gear, they can show signs of decompression sickness. Now Mowgli's got quite a lot of algae grown on her shell. She does look like she needs a little clean. And when we look at hawksbill shell, it really doesn't look that particularly beautiful, I would say, but it really is. So once you sort of remove it from the turtle and you're able to polish it up, the tortoise is called tortoise shell, and it is used to make a really gorgeous piece of jewellery, earrings, bracelet, necklace, and it's a really, really popular material. And because it is called tortoise shell, a lot of people don't realise that it does in fact come from the hawksbill sea turtle.
And while we're on the shell, we have a question here from Sophie. She wants to know whether the shell is attached to its body and whether it could survive without it.
No, it can't survive without the shell. It is attached to the body. And we call the top part of the shell, the part that you can probably see now, the carapace. But there's also a bottom part, and this is called the plastron. So when you look at the top part, it's almost like a rib cage, if you imagine our rib cage, which is fused together, attached to the vertebrae. So it's completely attached to them with a blood supply, tissues, and so is the plastron. So no, it definitely could not survive without its shell. It's also not able to retract its head in, like some land turtles can do. They do have a really stretchy, flexible neck, but they're not able to bring their head right back into the shell.
And Betty wants to know, have we seen the young male that we sighted a while back? I believe she's talking about James Bond.
Bond, you mean? I don't think Bond was young, for sure, but no, and I don't think we will again. It's a very different story when it comes to males. You rarely sight them regularly. Females tend to be quite territorial, and they tend to stay in the same foraging grounds. And that means grounds where they are feeding, but the males tend to live a little bit deeper, a little bit further out at sea, and they only come close when it's time to breed. Oh, I think Mowgli's found some food here.
Yes, yep, definitely. So we can see that this sponge is quite decayed, and that is probably because it is a favourite feeding sponge. So we can see that the tissue has been quite degraded there, and that would be from feeding activities previously. So Mowgli's obviously sighted this one and saying, oh, this one might be a good one to eat.
So Mowgli actually has a little scoop from the outer edges of her shell missing as well. I didn't notice that before. So the hawksbill shell is quite unique, and it's also a very important identification feature to realizing that it is a hawksbill. So each of the scales on the shell actually overlap one another, and this is the most important part, and it's actually where their Latin name comes from. Whereas other species of turtles, the scales will not overlap. If you look at the edges of the shell, the outer part, it's also quite serrated, quite jaggy. And again, this is another key feature to look at, as well as that really pointy and sharp beak. Oh, look at her go.
Looks like she's bitten off a bit more than she can chew there. And that damselfish isn't happy either.
Oh, they never are. Damselfish never are.
Wow, this is actually a really great sighting of her feeding though. She's really getting into that sponge there.
So, turtles are said to actually consume up to 1,000 pounds of sponges per year. So that's around 450 kilograms. So they eat a lot of sponges. And considering sponges are so inedible and digestible, they're made up from glass spicules, if they like. They do estimate that well over 50% of the contents within a sea turtle's stomach is made up of glass fragments. And we do have a queen angelfish here coming to also eat that sponge. So these are the exact two species I was talking about earlier with regards to eating sponges. So we have the queen angelfish and the hawksbill sea turtle.
This is absolutely incredible to see them feeding there side by side. Two of the only spongivores, and that's not a proper term, but sponge-eating animals, both feeding at the same spot at the same time. How incredible.
Which is so weird, because this reef is just full of sponges. There's so many. And yet these two animals have both decided to feed on the same one at the same time. So many people would ask, what is the sort of ecological role of a turtle? Well, one is to eat the sponge. Like I mentioned, the sponge populations do need to be kept in control as well, or they could smother all the coral. But also their shells can actually be home to many small little organisms. And these are normally called epibionts. And all that means is little hitchhikers who sort of jump on the turtle shell and get a free ride and probably free food. Now at loggerheads, a different species of turtle, they're notorious for carrying the large amount of organisms on their shell. And I think there was one found with over 100 different species on board its back. And this can include barnacles, algae, crustaceans, all sorts of things that would hitch a ride. And they would do this, one, to sort of be protected in the safe haven of a turtle's back, and two, to spread their genetic diversity. So they'll hitch a ride, they'll get transported to a new location, and they can spread their wings there. So turtles have many purposes within the reef ecosystem. Oh, these guys are really close.
Yeah, they really are. They're having a field day out here. So we have a question here from Timothy. He wants to know how long hawksbills live for.
Well, each turtle species is different, but hawksbills are known to live anywhere between 30 to 50 years. So they do get very old, especially if they're sort of not harmed by humans. They are ancient old reptiles, and they've actually been on the planet for such a long time. Definitely when the dinosaurs were here, and they've survived throughout all the different changes until then. So they're very old reptiles, and they're very good at surviving. I'm so happy you're getting to see this, because just before we did try to go live earlier, this is exactly what I saw. It was a different turtle, but it was also having a field day with an angelfish. So I'm so happy that I'm able to share this with you.
Yeah, this is amazing. So we have another question here. I think you did touch on this earlier a bit, Lauren, but I'll ask it again. So Roshni wants to know, how do you differentiate a male and a female hawksbill turtle?
Yep, so when they're juveniles, it's practically impossible. But when they become sexually mature and they get older, the males will develop a huge, thick, long tail in between those two back flippers. Oh. He was checking us out there.
Yeah, getting real close.
And it's impossible to miss this tail, really. I mean, if you were to see a male turtle, you would know straight away it would look different. It would have that big long tail. And the females just don't have one. They have a little stump, which is smaller than half of my pinky, and it never extends past the shell. So that is the main difference. And if you were to look closer, a lot of males have much longer claws on their flippers, and this is for hooking onto the female during mating. But that requires a much more in-depth look at the turtle. Hey Mowgli. So you can see here that Mowgli herself, they are incredibly gentle. They're not bothered by our presence. She really is just cruising the reef looking for food. At some point she will also head up to the surface to get air, where we might lose sight of her, but they're generally unfazed by our presence here. This is obviously, this reef, Kasarina Point, is obviously Mowgli's foraging grounds, and she probably is always here. It's a very large area, and this is where she'll feed on a daily basis until she's ready to reproduce, and she will head out to deeper waters to find her mate.
Yes, hopefully she's lucky in love. We got another question here for you, Lauren, another turtley question. So, Mauricia, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Mauricia wants to know, where would the turtles that we find here in the Cayman go to lay their eggs?
That's a really good question, and I'm not sure, because one of the most amazing things about turtles is that they show philanthropy, and what that means is they are completely loyal to their home reef. So turtles will always go back to the exact same place that they were born to lay their eggs. Now when they're born, they can travel for miles and miles, as satellite tags have shown us. And somehow they're able to navigate their way back to that exact reef that they were born. So they don't exactly know how turtles do it, but they do believe they imprint, when they're very, very young, they imprint on that exact beach, which is why it's really important to let the hatchlings run along that beach. And also they're able to read the Earth's magnetic field. So they have like an internal compass, and they're able to navigate their way through the Earth's magnetic field and find their way back to that exact beach. So just because we're in Grand Cayman right now with this hawksbill, it does not mean that she was born in Grand Cayman. Most likely not.
It looks like
there must be something interesting here.
Yeah, she did a full 180 there. So it looks like she's inspecting this little coral head here, maybe looking for another sponge to eat.
Oh, she will be looking for a sponge. And turtles actually have a really good sense of smell. So they also have good eyesight and good hearing, but their smell is on point. So she was probably just traveling along the reef here, listening to me blabble away. And she could probably smell a gorgeous sponge, and that's why she stopped. And she's having a look where it is.
And Lauren is our turtle expert here at diveLIVE, so please keep those turtle questions coming in. Really test her knowledge. I don't think there's anything she couldn't answer, but that's a challenge I'm putting to you guys.
I'm not quite a turtle expert, but I do really, really love these guys. I've rescued a lot of them, I've worked with a lot of them, so for some reason I'm just crazy obsessed with them. Now this is obviously a hawksbill, but there are 7 different species in the whole world. So we commonly do find 3 of them here in the Grand Cayman, which is a hawksbill, a green and a loggerhead. The leatherbacks are actually known to come and nest in the area, but you don't see them regularly. Hawksbills are the most common of all of them here in Grand Cayman. I could stay with Mowgli all day. Now, turtles are completely solitary animals, so they don't interact, they don't hang out in groups, they don't, have any sort of meetings with one another. If Mowgli here was to bump into another, say for example Double Patch, who is obviously around somewhere, they will not interact. They may fight, they may try and take a big bite out of one another, but other than that, they are solitary animals.
Now, Lauren, I do, actually to everyone, I do fully apologise. I have misidentified this turtle. This is actually shark bait.
Oh,
so I just double checked the identification key, and yeah, definitely shark bait. So thank you, CJ, for actually pointing that out to me as well.
Yeah, I did notice it had a big oh! It just flipped upside down. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I have never seen a turtle do that in all my career. Now, let us just assure you, we are quite a bit below her. We've obviously got a zoom, so we're very much deeper, and she is on her way to the surface, I believe. And I think she got a little feel of the bubbles there. So she is on her way to the surface. Now, from all my time with turtles, they do not like to be at the surface. The surface brings so many dangers to them, including fishermen, boats, all sorts of dangers. It's really unfamiliar territory up there. So turtles are not so comfortable being at the surface. So they normally go up, they move a little bit away from the reef, they take a few breaths, and then they quickly come back down again. They are reptiles, so they do enjoy getting warm from the sun, but they really don't like being at the surface. So I'm glad we clarified that. I did see the big bite and I thought, that looks like a shark bite. So I'm just going to, oh yeah, I've still got eyes on her, so if she does come back down, we will follow her again if we can. But I am still happy to answer any turtle-y questions that you may have.
Yeah, definitely. So another one here from Roshni. So you did say that the hawksbills here are solitary, but she wants to know about the other two species, the green turtles and the is it only the green turtles that we get here?
Loggerheads.
Loggerheads, of course. Sorry, I had a mental blank there. Are they also solitary?
Yep, all turtles are solitary. There is an event called an arrabada, which is Spanish for arrive, where groups of olive ridley turtles all nest in mass numbers. Now, the one that I know the most about is the one in India, where thousands of olive ridleys come on land at the same time to nest. So this is where you would see a large number of turtles, but they're not interacting. When you see a turtle interact, will be when it's mating. And turtles are actually promiscuous. So you will see one female and many males surrounding her, and they are all fighting to get to the female. It's a very aggressive act, and that is the only time you will see many turtles interact with one another. I'm just going to have a look for shark bait. Emile, did you see where she went? No. She did go off there to the surface, but there's a chance she just might have disappeared from our field of view. Never mind, but I'm still happy to talk about them, as always.
Well, Price wants to know what nutrients they get from sponges.
Oh, nutrients. I'm really not sure.
It's obviously something to be able to sustain them, but yeah, as for specific ones, that would take a bit of a chemical analysis, I think. Now, Lauren, you haven't given us an air check yet, so let me be a good dive buddy and ask what your air is.
Oh, thank you. I have exactly 100 bar. And just to give you an idea, we travelled quite a distance with shark bait there, but I'm at 9.2 meters, and I do believe shark bait sort of swam off into the blue. So we're going to swim around this area now to see what we can find, but do keep those questions coming.
So now that you've found your turtle, is there anything else that you would like to see during this dive?
Oh, I would love to see an octopus. I will keep saying that until I see one. Those of you who have been following us on our diveLIVE journey, we always hope to see an octopus, but we never quite get there. Now, they are around. They're just the masters of camouflage and the masters of hiding. So it is going to happen one day, but that is what I want to see today.
Yeah, Lauren, actually, that's prompted me to challenge you. So the first one to find an octopus wins.
Oh, this is going to be a tough challenge. Now, Pat and I have also been playing a game where we do try to identify one new species of fish per dive. So we have a big ever-growing species list, and we do try to find different species of fish. So Emile, we're just going to go this way and see what fish we can find. And Pat will be on the surface with his identification book, and hopefully he'll get it right.
So CJ has just posted a link here to the nutrients in sponges. So, so Lauren, just to let you know that flickering screen issue just happened again just then.
Okay, there's not much we can do about it from our side, but thank you for letting us know. Oh, baked mutton snapper, hello. I just love these guys, so this... Okay, just bear with us, I'm just going to help Emil. Pat, if you could just take over for now.
Yeah, of course. So mutton snappers do tend to hang around divers, and that is because of the lionfish culling program that goes on here, because lionfish are an invasive species. So when they are speared, the mutton snapper will sometimes either get fed the lionfish or come up and steal it off the divers. So they do associate divers with a feed, so will quite often be curious and come up for a look.
Okay, we're back now, sorry about that. So Emil, let's look for this unusual little fish that we can get Pat to identify. We're getting much better at identifying fish now, and I'm actually enjoying it greatly. So let's keep swimming. We've came a lot shallower now, we're now at 8 meters, so...
So I'm keeping my eyes peeled for a peculiar fish, but we're just starting to recognise all of them now.
Not quite all of them, but we're definitely a lot better than we used to be. And we do have a really interesting thing over here. So we have a sergeant major, which is a type of damselfish, guarding his beautiful purple egg patch. Now Emil is not going to go that close, he's not going to disturb them, but we do have a zoom, so we can definitely take all of you guys watching a little bit closer. Now you can see he's rubbing his body to try and aerate all those eggs. That big purple patch that you can see on the sand, that is the egg patch. And and this is a male guarding the eggs. Now we are about 4 meters away from keeping our distance, but he guards them furiously. They really, really take care of these eggs, which normally hatch within 5 to 6 days.
Yeah, and we can see that it's rubbing along the eggs there, and this is doing two things. So firstly, it's oxygenating the eggs, and secondly, it's clearing any debris or harmful bacteria or parasites that might be in amongst those eggs there. And it's also guarding it because even other sergeant majors will come along and eat some of these eggs, so they are a nutritious snack for some fish, so it will guard it vigorously.
Okay, I have got a fish here that I'm going to try and get Emil to show you. So it is just in this little crevice. I don't want to scare it, and it's red. It's got bars running down its body. I have a feeling I know what type of fish it is, but I don't know exactly. Have you got a visual on it, Pat?
No, I can't seem to see it right now.
Okay, it was kind of hiding in it. Oh, I can see it. Yep, I think the light's on it.
Yep, so is it that squirrel-like fish there, or squirrel-fish-like fish species?
Yes, it's very small. It's got quite a pointy face.
Alright, so I've got the guide out, and I'm just looking for it now, so I'll be back in a few secs.
Sure, so if it is hiding out in the rocks and it has those big eyes, we can generally make the assumption that it's a nocturnal fish. The bigger the eyes, we normally think it's nocturnal because they use this for seeing in the dark. So nocturnal fish will tend to hide out during the day so they can rest and save their energy for a nighttime of feeding.
Now I believe this one is the dusky squirrelfish.
Oh, we have actually mentioned this one before. It's very small though. Alrighty, so this is a type of squirrelfish, but it definitely looks different from the other squirrelfish that we see. And obviously this is a dusky one. So it's not quite a new one for our list, but that's okay, we'll keep trying.
Yeah, so I can definitely say that that one is a dusky.
Alright, Emil, let's continue on our little journey to go shallower. I've got 80 bar left, so we are coming towards the end of the dive. Swimming alongside shark bait really took it out of me. Turtles look so cumbersome and heavy, but in actual fact, these guys can move really fast.
So we have a question here from James, and he's asking, since we were talking about octopuses, are they the same as squid in that the females will die shortly after mating?
Yes, exactly the same as squid. It's not necessarily mating. Mating is a horrendous drama for octopus, not quite squid, but it's really a big deal, and the female will lay her eggs. They can lay thousands and thousands of eggs, and she gives her whole life to taking care of these eggs, and she forgoes all feeding. She doesn't eat. So a lot of people think that octopus die of starvation. They will be starved, yes, but the actual cause of death is cellular suicide. The cells just start to die, starting from the optic gland, and it just radiates out throughout their whole body. And that is how they die. It isn't actually starvation, but yes, once they lay their eggs, octopus and squid both die. And this is called semelparous. So I will show you an octopus one day, James.
So we can see this part of the reef is extremely complex. There's a lot of complex topography here, and that's really good. So generally,
oh, the horseye jacks are following us. Hey guys, what are you up to? Wow, these ones are massive. We never see them this shallow. Are you getting a good visual?
Yeah, we can see those great.
So these are again the horseye jacks that we showed you earlier, but they just came really close to us. And there is 8 of them here.
There is anecdotal evidence that suggests that horseye jacks are attracted to divers because of the bubbles. They do look for disturbances in the water, and so may think that it's food.
I've never necessarily experienced that myself with them, but possibly. They just seem to be schooling really tightly together. It appears to me like they're looking for food, which is quite unusual. We've just never seen them do it before. And there's quite a difference in sizes here, but really big ones and a few smaller ones in the middle. So I think this is probably the same group that we did see at the start of the dive. Awesome. Yay.
Now, what I was saying before is that this reef is very structurally complex, and a lot of evidence points to the fact that more complex environments created by reefs, not only coral reefs, but also algal reefs and mussel reefs, and any type of structures like that will increase biodiversity. So there is a direct link between the complexity of an area and the diversity of fish and other organisms that live there. That's because structurally complex places provide habitat, they provide shelter, they also trap food and detritus as well, which allows for feeding, and they also provide substrate for other species to settle on too. So it looks like we've got a lot of little fish sitting above the reef right here, and they would be feeding on the plankton, I'd assume. We can see those snow-like particles all stirred up in the water there. and they are planktons, which is any organism that doesn't have the strength to really fight the current, or so it's at the mercy of the current essentially. It can't move against it, so it moves with it. And that is what brings a lot of fish up off the reef, because if there's food above the reef, obviously they're going to move up rather than just stay on it for shelter.
Yes, I do believe Emil has a flamingo tongue up ahead. There's a very, very small gorgonian there, just hanging out of a little area of coral, and on it, actually hanging upside down, is what we call a flamingo tongue. Now, this is a sea snail in the false cowrie grouping, and this one looks particularly small. I would say smaller than an inch, and we normally find them on gorgonians, which is their favourite food. Now, they are very attractive looking animals, which is most likely where the flamboyant name flamingo tongue comes from. But it is the animal itself, the animal's mantle, that does produce these glorious colours. The shell is pure, transparent white. And the populations of these beautiful animals have actually declined a lot in the recent years, because people assume that the shell has these beautiful markings, and actually take these shells out the water, and then by the time they get home, they're very disappointed to discover that the shell is actually white. Now, the fact that they are so flamboyantly coloured, they are probably trying to tell us something, and that is, hey, I'm toxic. They are literally giving a warning that they do contain toxins, and it's probably best not to eat them. But the hogfish do. One of the biggest of the wrasse, the hogfish, their favourite snack is in fact flamingo tongues. So you do normally find them in male-female pairs, but this one alone.
And we can see that he's feeding on a gorgonian, and they actually have a massive advantage by feeding on gorgonians, because they will actually accumulate the toxins that the gorgonians produce and use that in their own defense.
Yeah, it's a great technique. And you can normally look at a gorgonian or a sea fan and see the areas which have been destroyed and eaten by the flamingo tongues. The polyps of these animals are able to recover, but it does take a very long time indeed.
And Sophie wants to know, what role do flamingo tongues play in the ecosystem?
What role do what, sorry?
Flamingo tongues play in the ecosystem.
I'm not sure. Do you know that one, Pat?
Well, firstly, they do provide a food source for the hogfish, as Lauren just mentioned, and they also keep gorgonian numbers in check. Now, as we see, they do feed on the gorgonians, and so they ensure that the gorgonians don't smother or bore into the corals too much and start destroying the reef. However, on the other hand, if flamingo tongue numbers get too high, there has been evidence that shows that they can really start to bring the gorgonian numbers down too much. So gorgonians do play a role in the reef in that they buffer wave action and other hurricanes and anything that is experienced fast water movement. So if there is too many of them, then they'll take the gorgonians away from the reef, and that will start to degrade the reef in general.
So we do have a beautiful indigo hamlet over here, Emil, just behind you. It's a few of our viewers' favourite to see the indigo hamlet, and it is strikingly beautiful. So I will just point this out. There's two lovely barjacks following me. I don't know if they think I'm a jack or what. Hey guys. But just up here, we have a fabulous indigo hamlet. Now, one of our strongest viewers who's followed us from the start, James, he loves an indigo hamlet. Now these fish, we do see hamlets quite a lot, not always the indigo, but they are just fantastically awesome fish. Now fish in general are weird and wonderful, but hamlets are actually what you call simultaneous hermaphrodites. And what this means is you technically can't call it male or female because each hamlet does contain both male and female reproductive organs. So they're known as hermaphrodites. So when it comes to mating for these guys, obviously two hamlets will come together, and the more dominant one will take the lead as female and engage in the mating as a female, and to reciprocate, the other one will become male. So they can be both, and this is a weird and wonderful life of the hamlets. Not only that, different species of hamlets can actually produce hybrids, and this makes it very, very difficult for us to identify hamlets, because it's not quite one or the other, it is a hybrid between two species. But this one is the indigo, and it's fabulous and blue. It's a lovely little fish to see. Hamlets are part of the wider sea bass grouping of fish, so quite closely related to groupers, if you like.
Yes, although they are much smaller than the groupers. But we can see that they kind of do have that similar facial structure with the heavy lips and the heavy bodies as well. And one way to tell, so hamlets do also sometimes resemble damselfish. I know they're not very closely related, but a good way to differentiate the two is by those two ventral fins there on the bottom that come out, almost looking like bottom wings there.
So on that note, Emil, I have reached 50 bars, so that means I am out of air. So thank you everyone, it's been a truly wonderful dive. We got to see beautiful shark bait and just such a plethora of fish. Even when I'm looking around right now, there's so much happening. So thank you Emil for being awesome as always. Thank you Pat on the surface, and thank you diveLIVE family. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope we answered all your questions. I will look up the nutrition levels of sponges now. But we will be back again at 11 with Pat underwater, so please do join us then. But for now, thank you and see you soon.